Welcome back to Tamara Bowling Video Ball Reviews. Today we're testing the new Storm Phaze AI. If you like what we do, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and check us out on Patreon. First impressions, this is finally a Pearl version that really complements the Phase 2 in a way no previous attempt has. Okay, let's jump in. I spilled the beans already. I think the Phase AI is the best complement to the Phase 2 Storm has produced to date. Not that others haven't served a purpose, but there's a closer relationship here. Whether that makes it the best choice or not really depends on the condition at hand. What you have here is the original TX16 formula, but now with some Pearl added. That changes the dynamic a bit, but you still get the recognizable heavy forward roll from the Velocity core. I've always felt that, especially when new, the Phase 2 had a very dynamic, almost asymmetric-like behavior, and everyone by now knows it calms down into a strong benchmark type that's extremely versatile. The AI now offers a different take, where if you still wanted the dynamic early roll of the Velocity core, but just needed a bit cleaner but sharper reaction, you have the AI. And just like I teased with the Phase 2, I'd almost consider the Phase AI a mid-defined since it has a bit more, what I call a defined shape than a typical symmetric core. Whenever a core likes to write itself strongly, I tend to call that, quote, defined. As compared to, say, a Phase 5 with the R2S, that was mid-late. A step down in volume management, but later and snappier response. Now here's a look with Tyler's got a higher rev rate, and I'd say the Phase AI looks quite good for him. Same characteristics are obvious. It has a very strong and clear transition. I wouldn't call it sharp, like a snappy ball. But the court turns over a little further down lane because of the cleaner finish, which makes it look strong. And sometimes there's an efficiency of core to cover matchup that makes a ball look right. And you can clearly see the heavy forward tumble through the pins. The colors allow you to visualize that. And when the pattern is fresh, he's got about a 20 to 9 look, and the ball just makes the turn with a strong, again, what I would call defined move due to the heavy rolling core. This latest house pattern somehow breaks down in a strange way where, imagine that, you have to square up. So you'll see later when we do the comparisons with the other balls, Tyler will be about 5 boards right. It just feels like a bottom line, right? It just feels like a very controllable and predictable but strong motion, which bowlers will like. It's a little tumbly for a lighter pattern. So you'd want a ball down if you need a cleaner look to something mid-late, like I mentioned, the Phase AI 5, for example. And finally, Brian tests the Phase AI, and the same characteristics Tyler and I saw are what he saw. From the more direct line, he was trying to give it the space it needed as it was starting too soon, and had a decisive second move going high. He kept moving in a bit until he found a nice spot around 14 to 10 to take advantage of the shape. Eventually, like I mentioned with Tyler, the pattern broke down the same way it did for us, and then he squared up further, winds up somewhere around 8 through the fronts. uh, yeah, it's a bit of a strange behavior for house pattern, although I can never be surprised with house patterns. But no matter, we are still able to get a sense for what this ball does, and you can kind of see the same kind of characteristic in the roll. Brian and I got a chance to test the Phase AI on a sports shot. In this case, it's a 2024 37-foot high volume team trials. That tumble and heavy roll makes it a viable option for me. I was going to say I don't love using shiny balls on tough patterns, but regardless of what you use, you have to be extremely accurate on this pretty flat pattern once you find the shot. I do have to get a little deeper than normal since it's a pretty short shot, but what makes it viable is the rolliness of it. Mid-late balls are very tough on this type of pattern. You don't want a ball that's ultra responsive to friction, so this type of look where it's mid-defined looks better. And for Brian, the deeper shot was a bit tougher as he doesn't quite get the same punch and move down lane as I do. So, you can kind of see a few shots hit a little soft. However, once he moved direct, he had a fantastic look. That first arrow play was pretty solid. And if you know how to read the pattern sheets, this pattern can be a little tricky from direct, but it worked quite well for him. The bottom line is I'd slot the Phase AI into what I consider a mid-defined slot, which competes a bit against some of the big shiny asymmetric balls. It really doesn't slot in the clean and snappy part of the bag, which I consider mid-late. Oh, and I hadn't mentioned, but we did leave the cover alone. It now has the new Storm Power Edge finish out of box, and it played a lot less over under and sensitive than the React to Gloss in the past, and that just didn't really work for us. So it does have some tack and is a bit more consistent. I think I'm gonna try to keep the Phase AI around in my bag for a bit.